Some Guilford County students will be heading back into the classroom in less than 2 weeks. If coronavirus numbers stay low, there is still a lot to plan. We know that you have questions and you have a chance right now to ask them. Guilford County's top education leaders are here with us. So text your questions 336-379-5775. Just remember, only text these questions. You cannot call them in. All right, so with us today, Guilford County Schools Assistant Superintendent Dr. Jamie King, Chief Academic Officer Dr. Whitney Oakley, and Chief Operations Officer Angie Henry are joining us. And of course, we've got all of the text messages coming in. This person said, I enrolled my child in the virtual academy when I learned of the proposed reentry plan. When will I be contacted by the virtual academy?
So we are currently surveying and making sure that parents have filled out their parent preference form in terms of what they plan to do as schools reopen. And as principals receive those registrations, they are reaching out to make sure that they have all of the enrollment needed. If they need to contact the virtual academy directly, they can do so through the website to receive an update.
This is how are we going to really do the day-to-day? Are kids allowed to bring backpacks? And if not, how will they get their books to and from school?
Yeah, so this week we've had some of our kindergartners return, and they have been bringing their backpacks and things with them. We just try to limit what students are bringing to school and not bring things that are high touch or can contain lots of germs. But our students this week have been bringing their backpacks, of course, wearing their masks when they come in, and we've had a great time so far this week with them doing that.
Gotcha. Okay. And so this is another one of those kind of follow-up questions. How will lunchtime work?
So lunch is going to be delivered to the classroom. We purchased equipment. We used some of our Federal CARES Act money to purchase equipment that makes it easier for our cafeteria staff to have meals delivered to the classrooms.
Okay. And so the kids, I'm guessing, then will just eat at their desk where they are.
Right. And let me also add to that every student through December will be able to eat at no charge. So their lunch status will not matter because we were able to extend the summer meals program into the fall and into December. All of our students will be able to eat at no charge. So there won't be any check-in rosters. There won't be any collecting any funds for meals, breakfast or lunch through December.
Okay, so every single kid can eat free going back in. If they choose to bring their lunch, they can still do that.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. So here we go with all of this with the metrics, right? Because everyone's saying, hey, are we really going to go back to school as of October 20th? And I know we've got a graphic so that you will be able at home to be able to follow along with all the many different things that we're going to hit here. So Dr. Oakley, I think you're taking this one when it comes to the metrics.
Yes. So as was discussed at our last board meeting, we're in constant communication with our public health department, and that will continue as we go through this week and all the way through next week. One of the big myths that's out there is that there's one single data point that will determine whether or not we're able to begin our reentry plan. It's important to remember that this is not just one health indicator. This is many health indicators that was recommended by our public health officials. They have provided the guidance for us to follow. But the public health indicators include things like case incidence, positivity rate, how well we can implement strategies like social distancing and hand hygiene. They also include secondary indicators that include things like hospital capacity, downward trends in hospitalization, and intensive care unit capacity. So our public health officials will continue to provide guidance that inform the reentry decision. Next week, Dr. Van will be, I think, with Dr. Contreras and answering specific questions about where we are with the health indicators. But it's really important to remember that there are multiple health indicators and not just one data point that inform the reentry date and plan.
Okay, so it could be maybe over that one metric indicator, but if everything else is met, there's still the possibility for kids to go back to school.
Yeah, in conjunction with the health department, there's multiple indicators that were advised to us to consider upon reopening, and we'll continue that collaboration and looking at all of the indicators so that would inform that reentry.
Okay. This person is asking, when the kids go back to school, they want to drink water. I understand that the water fountains are going to be blocked off. So what's going to happen with water and hydration throughout the day?
Sure. So we've placed what we're calling bottle filling stations throughout the school. They're the what you typically see, the 5-gallon jugs on a dispenser. And we have several of those in all of our schools so that water will be available for our students.
Okay. And this person is saying, how many kids are riding on the school bus, and are they checking temperatures before loading the bus? What is the process?
So we are not checking temperatures before we load the bus. We are required to get parents to complete the attestation form before students can ride the bus, but then the temperatures are checked once the students get to school. We have a reduced number of students on the bus for our elementary schools, knowing that we are opening in Plan A with our elementary schools, but we will only be able to transport one student on a seat for middle and high school. So that would be 24 students on a bus max for middle and high school students.
Okay, and let me just clarify that, because at the very beginning you talked about how parents are going to be filling out something. Is this something that they're filling out online and sending it in? What is this?
We're going to have multiple methods. We do have a paper form if parents want to complete the paper form and hand it to the bus driver. We also have an electronic attestation form that we can send parents the link. The link may be available on school websites. It's certainly available on our transportation website that parents can complete the attestation electronically if that's how they'd like to do it as well.
Okay, several different ways to be able to do that before the kids get on the bus. This question is, how will PE and electives be handled in middle school? Will students be able to be participating in sports activities in class?
Sure. So I think it will depend on the school schedule in terms of what electives will look like. We are trying to limit student movements and keep them in cohorts to the fullest extent possible, but understand that electives are a very important part of the instructional program. So we will limit student movement to the fullest extent possible, knowing that they may have to move once or twice during the day, depending on what their school schedule looks like. In our elementary schools, our specialists are going into classrooms to serve cohorts of students. I've seen art teachers in classrooms with a cart of materials that they wipe down in between or have in individual bags for students. Saw music lessons in classrooms this week. And so it will depend on the number of staff members, the number of classrooms, and the number of electives, but we do intend to continue the instructional program, including electives. To the fullest extent possible, our physical education classes will take place outdoors. We're in a good time right now in terms of climate to be able to do that. When that's not possible, those classes will be held following social distancing requirements.
And it could look a little bit different at every single school.
It could, because they have different spaces, different size gyms, different rooms being used for different things this year than in years past.
Okay. All right. We want you to continue to text your questions, 336-379-5775, and we'll be right back in just a few moments.